Basically speaking, whatever you give a woman, that will be reflected back initially. So later on, this feeling of love and hatred starts developing. She was still now looking at the mirror. Then all of a sudden she turns back. That means she turns towards the outer world. It does not add any elements of love or hate or anything and reflect it. Hello everyone. I am Dr. Shalini, Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today we are going to understand one of the poems prescribed by University of MYSURU for 2nd Sem BCom. We are going to study The Mirror today, written by Sylvia Plath. Let us see what is there in today's module. We are going to understand about the poet, then the theme, then we'll move on to the summary and the literary devices will be understood, and at last we have few new words in this poem. So why delay? Let us start understanding about the poet Sylvia Plath. So she is Sylvia Plath and she is an American poet, novelist and a short story writer. Her works are actually kind of confessional kind of writings what she was writing. So she is credited with advancing the genre of confessional poetry. Means she used to confess something in her poems. That is what is seen here. That is the genre she was writing. Her best collection of works, that is the Colossus and the Other Poems and the Ariel. Okay. So the Colossus and Other Poems is one work and the Ariel is another work here. The Bell Jar was her semi-autobiographical novel. The Bell Jar has few elements of her life developments. Okay, so that is a kind of semi-autobiographical. So few elements were related to her life. And this poem, Mirror, she has written after the birth of her first child. Fine. So let us now move on to learn about the poem. So the theme that is about this poem, the woman in the poem looks into the mirror in an effort to find out who she is, but the mirror only reflects her exact image. The theme is self-reflection. So a woman is the speaker in this poem. She actually is, she's not the speaker, but she is one of the characters in this poem. So she looks into the mirror and she wants to know who she is. She wants to have an inner reflection, but that is not possible only with the mirror. She cannot do that retrospection. She just gets to know her exact image. Only a reflection she can see over there. So that is the basic theme of this poem, Mirror. So to begin with, we'll start with the first stanza. I am silver and exact. I have no preconceptions. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately, just as it is, unmisted by love or dislike. I am not cruel, only truthful, the eye of a little god four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall. It is pink with speckles. I have looked at it so long, I think it is part of my heart, but it flickers. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. So here, if you see, the mirror is speaking. That is the speaker of the poem. And here the mirror is actually personified by the poetess Sylvia Plath. It is given a form there. It is personified, I can say. So that is a literary device that is used over here. So here mirror is describing itself. That means silver and exact. So that outline is silver, right? And exact means whatever is given to me, I show it back. So that is exact. I have no preconceptions. That means it doesn't think about anything. It does not have anything in its mind. It is only showing what is given to it. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately. Fine, whatever comes to the mirror, it is actually swallowed immediately. Means it is only showing whatever is there, it goes into the mirror, means it is reflecting the same thing, that it doesn't change anything over there, just as it is. So however it is seen, like that only it is reflected, unmisted by love or dislike. It does not add any elements of love or hate or anything and reflect it. Whatever you see, you look back, isn't it? If you look at your face in the mirror, if the mirror, you don't even know whether the mirror loves you or dislikes you, isn't it? If the mirror loves you, will it show you beautifully? No. If the mirror hates you, will it show you very badly? No, nothing will happen. It just shows how you are. Fine. It is what matters is if you love yourself is what matters. Fine. So here you can compare this mirror to a woman. Fine. So woman also, whatever you give her, she reflects it back to you. That elements of love and hatred only she can add. So basically speaking, whatever you give a woman, that will be reflected back initially. So later on, this feeling of love and hatred starts developing. So coming back to this poem, I am not cruel, only truthful. So the mirror is not at all cruel, it is only truthful. Why truthful? Because it is reflecting whatever is shown to it, whatever it can see. The eye of a little god, four-cornered. So now it can be round or it can be a four-cornered also. So it can be a square mirror also. So it is just like an eye of a little god. Fine. So if you consider God, then it is somewhere in the corner kind. Okay. It appears like an eye of the God, and it is also four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall. So wherever the mirror is put, the opposite wall, whatever it is, only that it will be looking at. Means if you look at something for a long time, it is more or less like you are meditating, isn't it? Like that only, the mirror also looks at the opposite wall and it is like it is meditating. Fine. It is pink with speckles. So it is describing the wall that is opposite. So that wall is actually pink color and it has some spots over there. I have looked at it. You can observe here the sentence ends over here and another sentence is beginning here in the middle, and the sentence is ending here. It is starting in the next line. So there is a combination of sentence ending in the end, sentence ending in the middle, and the sentence is starting newly over here. So this way it's a combination. I'll explain this, what is this called as in the end when we go to literary devices. So I have looked at it so long, that means it is talking about the wall. The mirror has looked at the wall for so long. I think it is part of my heart. That pink color, whatever wall it is looking at, so that is actually a part of its heart is what the mirror is telling, which is pink in color. But it flickers. So that also flickers. That heart actually flickers is what the mirror is telling. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. That means the wall and the mirror. In between, if at all there is darkness, then the mirror cannot reflect, isn't it? Similarly, if anybody is looking at the mirror, so that time the mirror cannot look at the wall over there. So that time the mirror and the wall are separated only by the faces which come to look into the mirror, or when there is darkness. So only during those time the meditation is stopped, or the view of that mirror and the opposite wall, it is actually cut short. Okay, so this is the summary of the first stanza. We'll move on to the next one. Now I am a lake, a woman bends over me. So it is something like lake also, that is the water in the lake also reflects, isn't it? So like that only, a woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. Now the woman who is looking into the mirror is actually trying to understand what she really is. She wants to understand herself. She wants to look into herself, but she is not able to do it. So she wants to understand herself, and with that view, she looks into the mirror. But will she be able to understand that? That is not told over here. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. So here she turns to those liars. That means that mirror is actually at her back. She was still now looking at the mirror. Then all of a sudden she turns back. That means she turns towards the outer world. That means she is going out of the room there. She turns to those liars, means people who try impressing her by telling lies. The candles or the moon. So there are other things which illuminate her life. So she turns towards that. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. Now what is the work of the mirror? Whatever it says, that only it will reflect. Now it is seeing her back. Only her back is seen, and that also is being reflected by the mirror very faithfully. Now till now it was reflecting the face of the woman, but now it is reflecting the back. Okay, so she rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. So she has already turned towards the liars. She gets to know what is the world. She gets to know. So she is not able to tolerate that. She starts crying because of those lies which she has seen, she has come across. So she starts crying, but she didn't want to show that to the mirror. So she turns back. She is not able to understand what she is. So she feels bad. She turns towards the liars and she is not impressed by whatever they are doing. So she starts crying, and also the agitation of hands. Agitation means the wringing of hands. When you are tensed, you start wringing your hands, isn't it? Wringing means not R-I-N-G. It is W-R-I-N-G. Wringing means you hold two hands and you just do this. Okay, so you just do this when you are tensed, right? So that is called as wringing of hands. So she does that because she is very tensed. I am important to her. She has to come back to the mirror. Though she is not happy that mirror has not shown her what she is, she has to come back to the mirror because she is showing her face to the world. She has to be presentable, so she has to come back to the mirror. I am important to her. She comes and goes, so she comes again and goes. She keeps looking her face in the mirror. Each morning it is her face that replaces the darkness. That means the previous day's darkness is gone, and every morning she is the one who comes there and looks at her face in the mirror. So she is the one who replaces the darkness every morning. In me she has drowned a young girl, means the mirror has seen her from when she was a young girl to when she was an old woman. In me she has drowned a young girl, and in me an old woman. So that means the mirror has seen her various development stages when she was a young girl, and here the mirror has also seen her various stages of life. It is seeing her when she is a old woman also. Rises towards her day after day. That means how she has risen from day after day. Day to day developments also the mirror has seen, like a terrible fish. Like a terrible fish means the fish actually grows very fat and all. No? So poet is actually comparing the development of the growth of the fish. Okay. So similarly here also I have seen the growth of this woman also, like from a young girl to the old woman is what the poet talks over here. So here the poet has personified mirror, and you can compare this mirror initially when it talks to a woman, and later there is a woman as a character in the poem also. Okay, so hope you have understood the summary of this poem, The Mirror. Now we'll move on to understand the literary devices. So here we have alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of sounds in the beginning of the words. So that can be seen over here. Apart from this, we can see assonance, consonants, then the personification, everything. Fine. So to name a few, I have just put it over here. Then we have repetition also. There are words that are repeated in the single line. So there is a difference between repetition and anaphora. Anaphora, repetition over here in the next consecutive lines, whereas repetition is repetition in a single line. Okay, so in a single line, if the word is repeated twice or thrice, it is called repetition. If it is in the next line, it is anaphora. Then we have enjambment. As I told you, the structure of the poem, the sentence ends in between and another sentence starts from the middle of the sentence, and this structure is called as enjambment. And the poet is actually talking to the mirror, that is personified. So personification can also be considered as another literary device that is there over here. Apart from this, we have assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in the sentence, and we have consonance also, repetition of consonant words in the consonant letters in the words of the poem. Okay, so these are the literary devices that can be seen in this poem. And we have few new words in this poem to be understood. The first one is preconception. Preconception means to have something in your mind already. So if you have preconceived some idea about him, or you are prejudiced, okay, so that is nothing but preconception. So prejudice or an idea formed beforehand. Whenever you look at a person, you might have had an image of that person in your mind, right? So that is called as preconception. Then we have unmisted, to make something clear. Mystifying, unmystifying. So like this, mist is something which covers something, which does not make something clear. Unmist is to make something clear. Then we have speckles, that is the pink color wall with speckles, right? So small patch of color. So there are few small patch of color, that means there might be few spots over there, maybe a kind of design also that is not clear in this poem, but speckles actually means some spots or the colors there. Then flicker, unsteady movement, like whenever the voltage is not proper or maybe the bulb is not proper, you have that flickering, the bulb goes on and off, right? So unsteady movement, that is called as flickering. It is to move very quickly. Then we have agitation, that is she is very agitated, she cries and shows agitation of her hands, right? So that is seen here. A state of anxiety, when a person is very anxious, very stressed, very tensed, so that time you see this. And also the nervous excitement, so that person becomes very nervous and he is excited, and so he is nervous, he or she is nervous, and that is called as agitation. So these were the new words that were seen in this poem Mirror. And I'm sure this poem is actually very easy. It is very easy for you to understand also. Go through the new words and just listen to this recorded lecture and then read the poem. It will be easy for you to understand. So have the theme in your mind. Think that the mirror is the speaker in this poem and you will be able to understand it in a better way. It is good you go through the poem and you understand it. So if you understand it better, you can give a wonderful answer in the exam. So keeping all this in mind, let us meet again in another more interesting session with another poem that is left out for you. So let us meet again in our next session with the last poem that has to be done. So take care children, keep learning. Thank you for your time. See you soon. Bye-bye.